Hello everyone, this is Darcenova here. This is a long time coming. Originally I was going to review this book and go on my hiatus, but I don't need to explain why it took me so long to review this. I wasn't as interested in reading this as other things I was reading at the time, but I finished it. It has nothing to do with the book being bad or anything. It's just I wasn't as interested in reading this at the time as I was reading everything else. So I'm just going to give my thoughts and just tell you what I think of the final expanded universe novel that was released. Yes, Honor Among Thieves is the last Star Wars expanded universe novel. We haven't had another one published since this one. And what do I think of the final expanded universe novel? Well, just to give a little background on, Honor Among Thieves, this is the second book of what would have been a trilogy of Empire and Rebellion, which each one of these books focused mainly on one of the members of the original trio. Razor's Edge, which I reviewed a while ago, focused on Leia. Heir to Jedi, which we never got, was supposed to focus on Luke. And Honor Among Thieves, which was the last Star Wars novel to be released in the expanded universe, focused on Han Solo. Now, I have to be real, Han Solo is probably the most popular Star Wars character of all time, and I would argue the most exploited Star Wars character of all time. I mean, you could put merchandise of Han Solo on there and it's guaranteed to sell, regardless of the quality. I'm not saying this story is bad, I'm just stating some facts that Han Solo is the most exploited Star Wars character. Now, how does this stack up to Han Solo's other stories? Because for those of you who don't know, who are watching this maybe as their first video, Han has had 6 other novels prior to Honor Among Thieves. And the reason I'm bringing those up because just to give my opinion, does it live up to, those other novels? Is it as good as them? Is this worthy of the character of Han Solo? I will say that Han Solo hasn't had one bad story written about him in the expanded universe. Now, if you are a fan of the Han Solo Adventures by Brian Daley, I think you'll get that kind of vibe with these. With this novel. Honor Among Thieves essentially kind of feels like more of a classics expanded universe novel that, in the 70s, it has that feel to me. And there's nothing too complicated about the story. I think the story is a fun little adventure that Han goes on. And I think it works really well. Now, how does it compare to the other books? Okay, my personal favorite Han Solo novel of all time is Rebel Dawn. Rebel Dawn, I think, is the best Star Wars novel with Han Solo in it. I think it's the best one due to the fact it got into so much into how Han Solo became who he was. The second best, I would say, is Hutt Gambit, which had Han Solo start up as a smuggler, and we learn how he became, who he was, how he met Java, how he and Chewie got their business started with smugglers. Paradise Share was a great book that first introduced this character, and the Brian Daley novels, they were pretty fun. I don't think they're as good as the A.C. Crispin novels. The reason why I'm bringing these up because this is the last Star Wars expanded universe novel, and it would be weird for me not to bring those up. Where would I rank this with those? In terms of my favorite Han Solo stories, I probably would put this behind Paradise Share. I have a personal bias towards the Han Solo trilogy, these by A.C. Crispin. I think they're great books. But this is still a good novel. I think all of the Han Solo stories that featured mainly Han are really good, though this one takes place during the Rebellion era. The story in this actually is Han going on a mission for the Alliance to find a spy that's deep in Imperial territory. And this spy goes by the name of Scarlet Herrick, or I'm sorry, I'm just Scarlet. I'll just pronounce her by her first name, Scarlet. And they find a weapon that could potentially change the outcome of the war, which, in my opinion, I felt like really a super weapon. This is what you guys added. This is not the kind of way I would want Star Wars to go out in the EU, to end it with the main plot of finding a super weapon. And of course, you know they're going to destroy it. They're not going to keep it, honestly. Otherwise, what's the point of the second Death Star or Center Point Station if you have something like that could essentially end the war? But I don't think it's that bad. Honestly, at this point, they have run out of room where they can write in the Rebellion era. But I feel like this story fits, well without contradicting anything major that I can think of. I haven't dived into the comics in this era, so I can't comment. I think Honor Among Thieves does a great job with how Hans is characterized. The way he's characterized is exactly what you would expect him to be prior to Empire Strikes Back. Leia is also in character, same thing with Luke. Of course, the characters in this book that are featured in here, I think they're pretty cool, to be honest. I mean, I think this is a fun story that I think anyone could... If you're a Han Solo fan, I would pick this up. Though I don't think it lives up to the A.C. Crispin trilogy, but I prefer this over the, Brian Daley novels. And if you're a fan of Han and you want to read everything related to him, I think this is a good story where Han is a badass. He's, just like himself in the original trilogy. And I also, if you're an original trilogy fan and you want to read stories that focus in that era, this is also a story that I'd recommend. I give this a classic rating. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good novel. This isn't how I would want the expanded universe to go out, though. I'm not going to lie, it is bittersweet that a story in the Rebellion era is the last Star Wars story that we have. Honestly, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around it. I don't think this is a bad story. Excuse me, my mic fell over. I don't think this is a bad story, but I honestly think that I would prefer something like Sword of the Jedi to actually be the final story in the expanded universe. I don't think it's a bad story. It's just bittersweet reading the final novel of the EU. I wonder if this is how I'm going to feel when I read Crucible. Well, yeah, it's going to be a while before I review that novel, but I will admit, this is a bittersweet experience reading this. This is Darcenovia, over and out. Sorry that it took me this long to get this review done, but I felt like this review had to be done. May the Force be with you, and see you guys next time.